Hello, auction friends. I'm Sherry with Red Apple Auctions. And in my second conversation that I've led since COVID-19 really disrupted the auction fundraising industry, I spent a portion of time talking about a concern that I have moving forward with these virtual auction fundraisers. Now, to date, I have been totally blown away with the ingenuity that has been put forth in a relatively short period of time by these nonprofits who are hosting these events. But there's been something that's really been bothering me going forward. This is what I want to talk to you about today and invite your consideration and conversation as well. Now, to date, what we have primarily seen with regards to these virtual events is that people are sent out a link. They may or may not register through auction software. They show up, they're able to watch this virtual fundraiser, which is primarily a fund a need and a live auction. Silent auction continues with bidding as well through the auction software. But there's been some events, for instance, that I've attended. No one has even known that I'm there. I was given the link, I can show up, but there's not a registration or anything required. The success, the net income of these events has been really strong. It's been exciting. My concern is that going forward, particularly if this lasts for several months and virtual fundraising is the only way allowed for nonprofits to raise money, I'm not sure if what cut it in March is going to cut it come May, June, July, August, September, and so forth. So this is what I posed, and there's a lot more information that I provided in the course that I'm not necessarily providing here in an effort to keep it small, but I did want to provide some discussion points. So first off, my concern is that let's think about your in-person event. Your in-person event is truly a curated experience. When you invite your donors, they're coming with friends, they've set aside time on their calendar, they may have bought a new dress, got their nails done, did their hair, they are getting the babysitter organized. They've set aside time to make this happen. They're buying a ticket. They're buying a ticket to your event. Now, let's remember, those donors are very different than the donors that are just happy to write you a check from home. Some donors hate galas. They don't want to go. That's not their thing. They just want to support you and write a check. But this segment that we're talking about right now likes events, and they're supporting you by going to your event. That's important to remember. It's really raining hard here now. Really bad. So they go to your event, they're greeted at the registration desk, they go into the silent auction reception area, they get a drink that they love, probably from an open bar, delicious food is being passed around as appetizers, their friends are starting to arrive, they're socializing, maybe you have a silent auction, maybe you have a wine pull, there's some activity there, the beautiful music is part of the background. At some point you invite them to sit down. They're having, again, more fellowship, great food, talking with people. They're picking up what you're putting down, right? You've created this wonderful experience for them. And at some point you have a program, and part of that program might be a video introducing them to your cause. You ask them to raise their hand in a paddle raise. You may have a live auction. I bet the evening ends with some sort of celebration. You may have entertainment, like a band. You may have a speaker. As they leave, you may even give them a gift. What a wonderful experience you've curated. Truly. Barry from Sage Management likes to call them happy hostages. They don't want to go anywhere because you've created this wonderful experience. It's donor-centric. Now, to date, as mentioned, what I've seen thus far with these virtual auctions is people are given a link, they show up, they register with their credit card, and then they're allowed to make a donation. That's not donor-centric. There's nothing about that is donor-centric. And that's what I visited about in my conversation number 2, is that I think we need to think about how we make these donor-centric events. And I was inspired because of a 3-day entrepreneurial-based conference in the corporate world, whereby they were able to maintain the attention of nearly 800 guests for 3 days solid, 8 hours a day. And these are some of the things that they did in their event that I think we need to very rapidly think about how we're going to adapt them into our nonprofit gala fundraisers, or we won't have the success we need to fund our mission. So first off, I think we need to think about how we make this an offline experience. In the class I led, I talked about a lot of different ways to do this, but specifically, get them a box. You're not spending $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 on food and beverage. At the least, you can spend some money on UPS, FedEx, USPS. All of those right now are still running. Send them something in the mail that gets them inspired to show up. So many of the best practices coming from these virtual event fundraisers thus far are talking about how it's hard to get them to show up and it's hard to keep them staying involved. Well, one way to get them to show up is to get them excited about that. So there's different ways you can do that. Sure, you can do videos, you can be sending them emails, getting everybody on board, but also make it an offline experience and send them goodies beforehand that makes them want to attend. Number two, I think we need to require event check-in. I've never, well, in 15 years of running my business, I think maybe there's been 2 events where there was not a registration required. Every other time you go through registration. I think this is an important way to connect with the guests that are going to be coming. It's a way to do a tech check and make sure that their video is working, their audio is working. Why are we doing that? Because we're going to make this donor-centric and we're going to make sure everybody shows up on video. Let's be honest. I mean, if you show up at a virtual meeting and you don't show your video and everyone else does, it's like you're sitting there with a paper bag over your head. That's not acceptable. We wouldn't have it acceptable in an in-person event. I think we need to think about requiring that for our virtual experiences. You're going to be on camera. Please be camera ready. So again, I gave examples of how to do that in the conversation, but that's the second point I wanted to make here in our short video today. The third one is, why not having them socialize? Think about it. When they come to your event, that's all they're doing is they're socializing, they're interacting. There's a lot of fellowship there. There's none of that to date in a virtual environment. I would say we need to be using Zoom rooms to create dinner conversations. They can be thrown into different rooms. Maybe it's the 3rd grade class, the 4th grade class, maybe it's sponsored tables, maybe it's points of discussion, and they can choose which table they want to go speak at, to participate in. They eat their dinners in their respective homes, but they're able to really enjoy fellowship with other people in the Zoom room. Fourth example that I gave of something that I think we need to be thinking of moving forward is gamification. People love to be rewarded for doing different things. So maybe we should be incorporating gamification into our sites. And I'm not talking about raffles. That's not gamification online. Gamification online is about giving them points for different activities that they undertake and then rewarding them for those actions that were taken. So for instance, it might be they get points for checking in. They get points for showing up. They get points for bidding on an item. They get points for actually winning an item. They get points for making a donation. There's all different ways that gamification can be incorporated into your virtual event. Again, it's more of a discussion point that needs to happen moving forward. You know, I've been doing this for 15 years. I think that virtual events have some great advantages, but we've got to change our mindset. We can't just throw a camera in front and say, oh, this is now a virtual event. I think there's more to it than that. One of the great things about virtual event fundraisers is that you can use an auctioneer wherever they might be located. And so I'd like to invite you at this time, if you think I might be a good fit for you, let's talk about your mission and brainstorm how we can make your virtual event a virtual donor experience. That's where the industry is going to be headed. And those that win in the end are going to be those that figure out ways to create that fellowship. I'd be honored to partner with you on that idea and brainstorm about all the different ways that we can make a big impact for you and your nonprofit. Visit www.redappleauctions.com. You can set up a meeting. I look forward to visiting with you. I'm Sherry with Red Apple Auctions. Thanks for watching.